Hello, so we're talking about essay writing in Unit 4. This is just an introduction to the topic, so we're just going to cover the basics. In the exam, you will have an hour and a half, and in that time, you will write for 60 marks worth of credit. This is 60% of your A2, 30% of your overall A-level mark, so it's well worth taking this very seriously. You will have a choice. You must write two essays from a list of 4 options. So there'll always be one essay on each of your dictators for the dictators option, obviously, and you've got to write 2 essays. The difficult thing is to write 2 equally good essays or 2 very good essays. Almost always, candidates in this exam do significantly better on one essay or the other. And the people who get A stars are the ones doing consistently well. So the essays, you obviously have to write 2 of them, and that means 45 minutes per essay, 30 marks per essay. Each essay needs to be 3.5 sides of A4. Every time I talk about this, people want to know why is it so much, or what about 3 sides, is that okay, or what about my handwriting? Those questions really aren't very important as far as Cambridge are concerned. The top answers will be that long. They will be 3.5 sides long. In actual fact, often the best answers are longer than that. If you can't write that much, then you can't expect to do very well on this exam. And it should be one of your targets this year to increase the speed of your writing so that you can produce that much by the end of the year. It's important to understand that an essay is an argument. I don't mean this kind of argument. I mean this kind of argument. You are laying out a case. It is your job to persuade, to set out your arguments and your evidence in such a way that the examiner is convinced that you know what you're talking about. So the questions will always address these assessment objectives. This comes from the Cambridge syllabus. It might be a good idea to pause this and think about these things. The key one here is 1B, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Remember that historians employ 4 modes of writing. If you are writing in mode 1 or 2, you cannot hope to do very well. You left this behind in the 5th form, so you need to be focusing on modes of writing 3 and in particular 4. You are analysing, you are laying out patterns of cause and consequence, you're drawing attention to significance, and you're making judgments. Let me emphasise that by referring back to the key points mentioned in assessment objective 1B. These are the things you're going to be asked about. I'll talk to you more about these later on. So your answer will be expected to explain, to analyse and to judge. These are the characteristics of analysis in academic writing. So what do we mean by arguments? Well, in history, arguments are constructed. A simple argument is one claim backed up with explanation and evidence or examples, and a link to the main argument. Let me show you what that looks like. So this is one paragraph in answer to that question. This is a real life Cambridge question written by a real life grammar boy a year or 2 ago. Let me take you through it. So here is the key claim. The historian, the writer, is setting out a key claim, and the key claim is that Lenin was successful in establishing a dictatorship. What's that claim based on? Well, it's based on some explanation. This is the warrant, right, in green. And how can this person make this claim? On the basis of this evidence. But not only on the basis of one claim or one explanation on one piece of evidence. Here's a second explanation and a second piece of evidence. More than that, here is a third explanation and a third piece of evidence. And the paragraph concludes, rounds off with a link back to the main argument. But that was one paragraph. An essay is a complex argument. A complex argument is a series of claims, a series of simple arguments structured logically together. So this is a kind of a map for your essay: an introduction, 5 main claims, and a conclusion. Let me give you an example. So my complex argument is that cats are better than dogs. So in the introduction, I'm going to define cats, I'm going to define dogs, and I'm going to define my criteria for judging better. So I'm going to say, claim 1, cats are smaller, and I'm going to explain 3 reasons why smaller is better and provide examples to prove that cats are smaller and therefore better. Claim 2, cats are cheaper, and I'm going to explain 3 reasons why cheap is better. And I'm going to provide 3 pieces of evidence to prove that cheaper is good. Cats are quieter, cats look after themselves, cats have health benefits. Now, in the second half of the essay, I may acknowledge that dogs can sometimes look after themselves as well, but I'm going to explain why cats are better at looking after themselves. Cats don't need to be taken for walks, for example, whereas dogs do. You can leave a dog outside and it won't die, but on the other hand, cats are better at looking after themselves for longer periods. And in the final paragraph, the health benefits, I'm going to point to the evidence which suggests that cat owners have better health benefits than dog owners. I'm going to acknowledge that yes, owning a dog does mean that you get to take it for a walk, and that could bring health benefits, but the evidence I'm looking at still argues that overall cats are better for you than dogs. So I am going to acknowledge that there are counter arguments here. I am going to consider a range of different viewpoints, but ultimately I'm going to conclude that cats are still better than dogs based on my arguments and based on the evidence. So here's what an essay plan is going to look like for one of these pieces of work. 7 paragraphs. That's an introduction and a conclusion, and then 5 main body paragraphs, and each main body paragraph is going to have a key point, a key claim, and 3 pieces of evidence with some explanation to back it up. Hope that helps.